PWCI this week. I am the Mad Conservative Crimefighter. Well, I was going to air the first of a two-part interview today, but due to some breaking news last week and stories we've been following, I decided to circle back to it with analysis. So this episode we'll call the Crimey Edit, because there are a few people who believe I should rehearse the last news episode and completely miss the hard deadline where Access 4 would default to rerunning last week's episode and air content. That was another week older. If you got mad over my difficulty saying medical terms 2 weeks ago, you're really going to be taking a sledgehammer to your television or computer by the end of this episode. But we'll get to that later. Leading off. Oh, what a fall ACH has taken. Albert Hardy, the man formerly known as Jordan Miles in NXT, issued his resignation in a profanity-laced tirade last Wednesday and stated his NXT ID is nothing more than a slave name. That contradicts a previous statement where he stated he chose the name as a concatenation between his personal hero, Chicago Bulls legend Michael Jordan, and recent Spider-Man incarnation Miles Morales. It sounded like a heroic name to him, and WWE did not come up with the persona. Later on, in a video that got deleted but a transcript was published by 411 Mania, details his reasons for leaving. 1. He was unhappy with the shirt, showing an image of him that was disrespectful to African Americans and people who purchased it to show some type of pride or appreciation. He saw it as racism and refuses to approach people who offended him. During his career, he has been the one approaching people who disrespected him and was shown no love nor given the same respect he has shown them in return. ACH has taken a stand for the culture and anyone who has ever felt like they couldn't do something in their life. He is tired of the way the wrestling culture mistreats younger guys and sees as BS the old guard acting like they're owed something just because they took a couple more bumps than them. He is also sick of the narrative of bowing to WWE because they have all the money and he won't die on the sword for them. Well, that doesn't explain your comments towards Ring of Honor or Jay Lethal in particular, nor well-known African-American wrestlers who were offended you tried to drag them into this. He has since changed his screen name on his Twitter account to ACH is Super and not deleted it as previously reported. ACH is still under WWE contract and has not released him, making it very unlikely for him to take bookings right away on the indies. That assumes promoters are willing to look past his rapid self-destruction and bizarre behavior. He posted a wish list of wrestlers he would like to have a match with. That include Jonathan Gresham, Darius Lockhart, AJ Gray, Myron Reed, and Desmond Xavier. Maybe one of these guys can knock some sense into him. A personal message to Albert Hardy. You really need to seek professional help, because this is not the person I remember. You've played this out the completely wrong way, and when you are free and clear to return to the independent scene, this entire episode is going to determine whether local promoters bring you in or not. They may think twice because of the irrationality you've suddenly engaged in. Yes, I'm fully aware of people who went to WWE and WWE totally broke them. And I've seen one fall to the point where they killed someone. And whether or not you ask me for my opinion, I don't need your blessing to give one. I do not believe this is all merely about the shirt and the shirt alone. This is merely the lit fuse to the ticking time bomb. It seems extremely foolish to throw away your entire career over what was essentially butt hurt. It was not even trade. You have to get a hold of yourself before you do something you really regret doing that you won't come back from. As for the shirt that started all this, it's still for sale! And there's variations of it too! Let me show you some of them. And ironically, one of them in the description says it's a racist shirt. But you can still buy it! It is stunning to me. There's been no move against these companies, and shockingly, ACH hasn't called them out either. And the wrestling media still hasn't picked up on this. How in the world is that possible with all the attention this has been given? Makes no sense. Well, Jeremy Thomas of 411 Mania said in response to an email, didn't see it as an incredibly newsworthy aspect of the story, as tons of sites rip off many WWE designs, not just the Jordan Miles shirt, and WWE and ACH can only do so much about them. The sites themselves often don't create the shirts, they provide an avenue for creators to sell designs, and the creators are often fairly anonymous. It would be more costly for them to get lawyers on the matter than it would be probably worth it. They're not licensed WWE shirts, so WWE isn't responsible for them, other than inspiring the initial design. And ACH has no real recourse because he does not own the design, WWE does. I put that theory to the test by searching for Seth Rollins, and there were very few bootleg sites carrying one. So I guess WWE is going after what brings in the bread and butter instead of the minor players.
Good golly, Miss Miley. So like a ball. Golly, Miss Miley.
More Miss Molly updates. After 2 years of covering the Mo Elgin story, she finally became aware. I've been doing reporting on this case, and she freaked out. After all this time, someone sent her a link to one of my videos and I get on her radar. She called for her followers to report me repeatedly and had me banned from YouTube because I uttered a real name. As if she were entitled to the same protections as that idiot, deep state, hoax blower, clown, Eric What's-His-Face. You forfeited all that when you committed perjury on court documents, because at that point you stopped being a victim and became a perpetrator. Fortunately, she's such a clueless moron, she thought someone else's Twitter account was mine. Nope, not on Twitter, doofus. And by the way, you're creepy as hell as you lurk around wrestlers' locker rooms looking for sex partners. That's why multiple promotions have banned you from ever stepping foot in their buildings. Last time I gave a report that she was having every single reproductive organ removed, saving one ovary. The vaginal canal topped off, and the bladder cut down, and mocked me for not being able to say hard-to-pronounce medical terms, which Molly didn't have her own terminology correct. What she called cystoscopy, bladder surgery is actually radical cystectomy. Regardless, people had good reason not to believe her claims because she's back tweeting away and making people angry. Let's review her recent habitual pathological lying. She says she doesn't know how she's going to be able to survive November because she can't do any videos or pictures that she sells on her OnlyFans account. Someone asked her why she didn't do photo shoots in advance if she knew she was having the surgery and release them over time. Her excuse, she had to spend all that time preparing and having tests, so she had to plan accordingly. Then the day before going under the knife, she brags about an effing haul she got from the Salvation Army. That comment angered several people, because many of the hungry are thankful for the food they truly need and don't go around bragging about it. Less than a week later, she's soliciting money for more groceries and to pay a couple bills. Apparently, that effing haul is all gone, even though doctors would tell you not to eat or drink for so many hours after surgery. Interesting. In her most recent claimed surgery, she said she had adenomyosis, which is a condition in which the inner lining of the uterus breaks through the muscle wall of the uterus. But on September the 2nd, she stated in her deliberation on whether she was still a woman or not, that she didn't have one anymore. Glad her doctor can keep track of all the issues this hypochondriac has. She also has landed a disability hearing after waiting a couple of years, supposedly at the urging of her doctors to file for it. Yeah. As Melinda Blue stated in a tweet, 6 attempts to get a deposition, a paramedic call-in for heart issues during a protection order appearance, and a meltdown in a police station following a report for online harassment. You're gonna need more than luck. Oh, and she's going to school while claiming she can't work. She already gets housing money through the state of Missouri since May of last year. I've read multiple tweets from people who have physical ailments that were denied disability, such as losing sight of one eye or a brain tumor, and are angry that Molly lies like crazy and gets whatever she wants. Me Too privilege, I guess. She also has claimed to have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, mast cell activation disorder, multiple strokes, transient ischemic attacks, and heart conditions. She's also hooked up to a transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation unit for days at a time, passing out every couple of minutes in unbearable pain, yet would have little difficulty swinging an axe to demolish an RV in pictures that she proudly posted. Who alive could possibly have all these conditions? Sounds like the Colette Reardon character Sherry O'Terry played on Saturday Night Live many years ago. Now, why did she need all this surgery in the first place? She's previously stated she's a sex worker, which to some means prostitute, because that's all she knows how to do, and not having these organs would keep her from getting pregnant. While denying vehemently psychogenic issues, she most definitely should have been given a diagnosis of Munchausen syndrome, a fictitious disorder where those affected feign disease, illness, or psychological trauma to draw attention, sympathy, or reassurance to themselves. And afterward, have a full frontal lobotomy, since her past shock treatment fried her brain. The only fortunate thing is fewer people are contributing to her panhandle gravy train.
Coming up, a flashback to 2004 as the Urban Hermits do battle with teenagers wanting to have fun somewhere in the city of Springfield. This is PWCI This Week.
As drivers, we make a million little choices each and every time we get behind the wheel. Choices like distracted driving, DUI, speeding, and no seatbelt are proven killers. But there's another threat lurking on your roadways that you need to consider. It's the choice by drivers to ignore the move-over law. This lethal choice has led to the death of first responders from all over the state. Men and women sworn to serve and protect you, the people of Illinois.
Slow down, move over, it's the law.
Are you a fair or festival organizer? If you're thinking of adding pro wrestling to your event, it takes more than just a $5,000 ring. It takes credible talent with years of training, skill, and experience. It takes quality production values. It takes credible promoters with knowledge of the independent scene, the resources to set up entertaining cards, and how to get fans in the door. Bring in just anyone without vetting their credentials, you could wind up with an embarrassing disaster. The so-called talent may have no training, no ring gear, aren't family friendly, and some may even have a lengthy rap sheet. If you want live professional wrestling at your fair festival, don't get burned. Check their credentials before you book. A public service announcement from the St. Louis wrestling community. Visit our website, stlwrestling.livejournal.com.
In an update to the case where wrestling moves caused the death of a toddler back in 2017 that drew attention from WWE, Richard Camachi Jr. ended up pleading guilty to 2 felony counts of child abuse, foregoing a jury trial that was set to start on October 21st. A jury was selected but not sworn in after the change of plea. Lawyers for Camachi made a motion for a mental exam, which was denied. Sentencing has been scheduled for December the 9th. Mid-Missouri Wrestling Alliance lost its social media presence as official James Harris Sr. abruptly left the company, apparently in a bad terms exit. MMWA lost its Facebook page for the second time in 4 years, as Harris was said to have ownership rights to it and took it down. Harris declined to elaborate what caused him to quit, though one wrestler, Leone Mephisto, mocked his exit given they've clashed bitterly a number of times. With bilateral sapling ectomy and cystoscopy. Now I have to address the complaints about my last news episode. I've been deemed the world's worst public speaker, and thus have no business whatsoever having this show on a public access television channel. Because it's been claimed that I'm so awful at speaking that I wouldn't last a full week at a Toastmasters club. Because intelligence is measured on how well you talk. Speaking with not even the slightest lisp, slip of a syllable, or hint of stutter. It's not based on actual knowledge, which is why so many of the talking heads on the Clown News Network are dumber than rocks when they are forced to actually think every time they get called out or their daily marching orders from Democrat Party boss Jeff Zucker. And all of this fervor because I had great difficulty pronouncing this. Laparoscopic hysterectomy with bilateral subiectomy and cystoscopy. I challenge and dare you clowns who are so desperate to have my show taken off the air because I couldn't say it, to incorporate that phrase in a promo in front of a live crowd, and you only get one shot to get it right. And if you fail, you cannot say a word about my show ever again. Regardless, once I ride into the sunset, there's not a single person who will step up to do what I did. Not a single one is going to fill the void. Most likely the Central Illinois wrestling scene will be completely forgotten about again, and nothing more than I-55 or I-57 will be seen by these commuters going from St. Louis to Chicago. No, they won't be stopping to wrestle in front of Springfield, Bloomington, Peoria, or Champaign fans. For the individuals who think my show is trash, just stop watching the show and go away. I won't miss you and replace you with new viewers who don't have a personal axe to grind. Ex-wrestling promoters are not the target audience, especially those whom I've clashed with multiple times over the years because of their superiority complex. And if it was so bad, how the heck did it get twice the number of views as the previous week episode? Seriously, get over yourself. Now PWCI flashback, as we covered the 20th anniversary of the modern era pro wrestling in Springfield by looking back at matches from New Midwest Wrestling. The commentary team talked about NMW versus the Sangamon County Board. I feel the need to revisit that history 15 years ago when New Midwest was forced to vacate what was the USA Sports Center, known today as the Bradfordton Athletic Center. I've long complained about the urban hermit population in this city, those being people who live in the middle of a busy metropolis, yet want the relative quiet of the rural countryside far away from city limits, yet refuse to relocate to such an area. So these folks seek to shut down anything that generates noise, such as public entertainment events, so they can sit cocooned in their living room doing whatever the heck they're doing. Meditation, perhaps? Or sitting on a couch, completely miserable, listening to low-volume elevator music. These folks have had quite a lot of political clout, having successfully lobbied for passage of multiple noise ordinances in the city. Meanwhile, everyone else ends up complaining about there not being anything to do locally, especially if you're a teenager not able to drive. From a 2004 article in the Illinois Times Archives, in 2002, Club 10 was launched where teens could come out to spin records and dance. This replaced the club known as the Asylum, which was torn down to extend Stanford Avenue from Wabash to 6th Street. Bands would come from St. Louis and all the way from the West Coast to entertain crowds of 200. It wasn't long before the complaints started rolling in as neighbors claimed their entire house was vibrating from the noise inside the building 100 200 yards away. Doug Dennis, who owned the building, long had issues with the relatives of Sangamon County Board member Tom Frazee. The Frazees sued Dennis in 1998 for trespassing and cutting down trees on their property during construction of the gym, but settled out of court. Another set of neighbors didn't want the place built in the first place and preferred it stayed farmland. County Board never zoned the facility for music, they say, and the parking lots overflowed with cars parked along Bradfordton Road itself, which it was claimed to be illegal. There were also claims of that underage drinking and pot smoking was going on at the property. The Midwest, however, allowed bring your own beer by adults when they ran events at the venue. Some of the more ridiculous complaints from the Frazees were that a band had skulls and bones in their logo, and that in itself was horrible. I'm sure they screamed in terror when they found out George W. Bush and John Kerry were once members of the infamous, secretive Skull and Bones Society at Yale during the 2004 presidential campaign. And one of them was going to be running the country. Other complaints revolved around the type of music played, the bad language, and band members getting out of control the way they sing. Whatever the heck that means. They didn't want 20-somethings or adults at the place either, because they supposedly brought drugs and alcohol to sell to underage kids. Tom Frazee, who had a conflict of interest being a relative of the Frazee couple, did not abstain from voting. But if he did, it didn't matter. The county passed an ordinance where public assemblies could no longer be held in the building, and Dennis had little choice but to put it up for sale sometime later. It was eventually sold, and the new ownership operates it as a health and fitness center. Attendees of one of the final shows were despondent, with some protesting by blasting their car radios outside. New Midwest Wrestling moved to the American Center on Griffiths, but had to close their training facility. Midwest Family Broadcasting opened the warehouse on South 1st Street, hoping to fill a void, and New Midwest moved its shows and training to that building. But that didn't last long either. 15 years later, not much has changed. The city is just as jaded now as it was back then. The urban hermits either stay home cocooned in their houses, go downtown to drink until 3 a.m. Saturday night, or else they go, with the legalization of gambling machines, to one of over 150 pilers to blow away their paychecks. Events like the Route 66 Mother Road Festival are once a year, heavily trafficked by out-of-towners. The Illinois State Fair is a shell of what it used to be. The Bank of Springfield, aka Prairie Capital Convention Center, doesn't have much on its calendar. The UIS Sangamon Auditorium at least has a full schedule and different events each weekend going well into 2020. With this void, you'd think some more wrestling fans would turn out in bigger numbers to independent events than they have lately. If you're a teenager in Springfield, Illinois today and you want to go somewhere for fun on a Saturday night without your parents, forget about it. As far as the adults are concerned, sit in your room and finish your homework. Sure, you could go to the movie theater or the skating rink if you could get transport there, but finding anything like what Club 10 provided is a big challenge locally. Number of venues which feature bands are for age 21 and older only. Places like the YMCA close at 7 o'clock on a Saturday. The mall used to be a hangout. Not so much now since adults stopped shopping there due to their congregation and shops started closing up. So the teens stay home, finding something to binge watch on streaming TV. And yes, that includes WWE Network. Playing on the computer, playing something like Fortnite, or being on a smartphone for hours on end in their parents' basement. Some, however, roam the streets, and neighborhoods have had to deal with car burglaries. And adults worry about today's kids being unable to socialize while at the same time not wanting to be bothered by their noise, with Springfield regularly popping up on most dangerous cities in America lists. I wonder why. Actually, there was a place known as Black Sheep Cafe that came along as a concert venue for teens and for teen bands, and that formed following the closure of Club 10. But I'll save that story for another day. Otherwise, if you're an adult and have a car with money in your pocket, the doors are all open to you, where you're likely to drive for the entertainment choices you want in St. Louis or Chicago. Remarkably, the individuals interviewed in the 2004 Illinois Times article did not move away to more happening communities. They still live in Springfield. I was really surprised by that. But then again, most of the city population would move away and not look back if there were nothing tying them down here. Tom Frazee is still on the Sangamon County Board in District 1, having held the seat for 24 years and is up for re-election in 2020, though he has yet to have a strong challenger. So far, the westward growth of the city has been kept away from Bradfordton itself, as the town has had no new development whatsoever. Springfield's growth has stopped at Washington Street. There's been a belief that Bradfordton Road would be made into a new 4-lane north-south route around Springfield from Jefferson all the way down to Wabash. But the road stops at Old Jack Road and has not been extended through the stub built in between the Deerfield and Oak Park subdivisions. And that will do it for this edition of PWCI This Week and the Crimey Edit. Be sure to follow us on the St. Louis Wrestling community at stowrestling.livejournal.com. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to get future videos and continue watching us on Access 4 in Springfield and UPTV 6 in Champaign. Until next time, the spin is making me dizzy.